Well, good afternoon, everyone, and obviously welcome to the Marketing Cloud, making the data view tables great again. My name is Sam Walley. I am a senior Salesforce consultant at Stimulus Consulting. I specialize more in the digital marketing side of Salesforce, so both Marketing Cloud and Pardot. But I think my real passion comes with Marketing Cloud, hence why I'm here today to teach you the wonderful world of the data view tables that exist in Marketing Cloud. As you can see there with all the presentations, here's my Twitter handle and my Trailblazer profile linked here. So obviously you can find me there and get in touch as well. So without further ado, I think we'll just go straight into a few pieces here. So straight away, just talk about what these data view tables are. There is an expectation in my presentation that you have a basic understanding, but it's good to start from the sort of the ground up, shall we say. So for those who don't know, the data view tables are a collection of tables that collect all wonderful engagement data within Marketing Cloud. By engagement data, I mean your opens, your clicks, your bounces, various elements like that. Obviously, each level of engagement has its own data view table. Now, these tables store data for up to 6 months. And unfortunately, these aren't tables that you can just access. You can't just go in and find a table called open and view them. They do have to be referenced with SQL. So what I'm going to be doing today is sort of teaching you how to do that, essentially. Because for many people, or for many people here, I imagine the data view tables can be somewhat daunting. Mainly because the lack of knowledge on the platform, on the tool itself, and perhaps generally the lack of resources are out there generally anyway. So hopefully this will give you the right building blocks to start doing your own thing. So there are, like I said, there are a few expectations of what you need to work with the data view tables. One is to have a basic SQL knowledge. So the SQLs I've got, they're not overly complex today, but they are a really good building block to start working with these data view tables. But regardless, I do expect you guys to have somewhat of a knowledge with how to work with SQL within Marketing Cloud. So a few things to consider there, of course. For example, obviously the function itself and how it works with data extensions. So being sure that when you're creating a SQL query activity, you create a data extension beforehand. Another thing to be aware of is making sure that your data view tables are enabled. Now, generally speaking, with new instances of Marketing Cloud, you could be pretty confident they are already enabled. If they're not, the way you find out is basically trying to reference the data view table through SQL. And if it comes back with a validate that fails, it probably means you haven't got switched on. All you need to do is either raise a case with Salesforce or speak to your account manager at Salesforce, and they will enable that for you. Another thing you need to understand is the basic data model of how the data view tables are put together, because these data view tables are all related to one another in some way, and that's how we get the true power of these data view tables. So this is the data model. This is how it looks. So you can see how each pieces here represent the different tables, and the color coding kind of represents how they are related to one another. And that's it. Well done, guys. Thank you very much for joining me, and we'll call it there. Of course, I'm not going to really call it there. Very high level. It's a good starting point, but I'm going to go into each individual detail, explain what each component, how we can reference each other using these tables. I'm not going to go through every single data view table because, again, there's quite a few of them, and I've got a short window to do such a thing. But anyway, I'm going to take you through a couple of scenarios. These scenarios are just very, very basic ones, but they help you understand how we build our tables. What I'm hoping to get out of these queries and this session is to give you the right starting point in going on and going further and building really nice SQL queries using the data view tables. So I've got 3 emails that I've got in my my Marketing Cloud environment, which I'm going to be demonstrating with you today. I've got an email that's sending out a free certification voucher when you book a course with Stimulus Consulting. I've also got another email, which is a bit like a email displaying all the available courses over April 2020. Within that email, there are a number of buttons that you can click, which direct you to a bit more information about these courses. And then on this one, on the left and on the right hand side here, I've got an internal newsletter. This is basically a newsletter we're sending to all our internals regarding various different elements of the business. So each three will have their own scenario. Each email, will have their own scenario that we can work with. So these are the scenarios. We'll go through each one of them, and then I'll demonstrate within the platform and how it works. So straight off, I've got my first one, which is you need a list of everyone who's opened the free certification email since sent last week. For future campaigning, at the moment, let me start again, sorry. We need a list of everyone who's opened the free certification email sent last week for future campaigning. At the moment, we only need the data from the certain job. So we only need data from a certain job. So the way I work with it is a methodology, is breaking down that scenario, breaking down that requirement into manageable chunks, taking the information you need from that scenario. From there, you understand what criteria you need. When you're understanding that criteria, the important thing to understand is what behavioral data are we referencing here. So whilst we have a criteria, which is everyone's opened a certain email, what behavioral aspects are we listening here? So obviously the first one I can think of here is an open. And then when we realize that, we've got to think about what behavioral data and where that exists in that table I showed you earlier. And then from there, think about how the inner joins within SQL will work to build the relationship between the two pieces. So what I've done here is I've taken those scenarios and I've highlighted the key points that helps me understand what criteria I need. So first off, you need a list of everyone. So we're looking for people that have opened an open. And so with that, we've got, essentially, we can figure out there's two elements there that sort of demonstrates what data view tables we need. For example, everyone, I'm going to get everyone from a data view table called subscribers. Essentially, this is a table that exists all our subscribers within Marketing Cloud. So that will contain everyone. Opened will simply refer to the opened data view table. So there is the two data view tables I need. This next step here is open the free certification email. So we're looking for a criteria here. Now I could just put a place to say I want everyone that opens the free certification email. But the scenario might be we are looking for everyone that's opened the email from a certain job. So a particular send that we achieved. So if I just go ahead, I want everyone that's opened the free certification email, I might have sent that single email in multiple jobs, which doesn't meet the criteria in this scenario. So we're looking for a job, the certain job. So essentially the criteria is, whilst it is that email is part of a certain job. So from there, we know what data view tables we need. Subscribers and opens. What we also need to consider is the criteria around those, which is all coming from that open data view table. We still need that subscribers table because we want the individuals. So we're taking the individuals from the subscriber data view table, but the criteria is based upon the opened data view table. So from that, we can take the job ID from the open table. And what I'm also putting there is making sure that we're only getting it when people have at least opened the email only once. So I've got a criteria as is unique equals true. In fact, let me show you in the system. So straight away, I'm going to go to Email Studio and go into my data extensions just to show you that I've got a data extension I intend to populate, which is this open free certification email data extension here. So I've only taken a few fields here just because that's just not really interested about what the data we're taking as such. We're just looking at the criteria and how we're getting it from the data view table. So I've only got 2 fields here. In a real life environment, you probably have a whole list of information that you want to grab from these data view tables. Now, if I go back to this first tab, I'm in Automation Studio and I'm in my activities, and specifically I'm in my SQL queries. I have already built this query here of the free cert opens there. So let's go open it up and have a look at the criteria in place. Let me zoom in here and have a proper look. So straight away, my select is choosing fields from both one data view table and another. We can tell because we've got this alias here for each field. So we've got the subscriber key from S. S is referenced in the from statement here. That is the subscriber's data view table I spoke about earlier on with the alias of S. I've also made sure that I've mapped it to that this data extension here to that subscriber key field there, and I've mapped it with the as right there. The event date is coming from the open data extension, because we reference this open here, which is the open data view table, sorry. So that O is coming from that open data view table here as referenced there. I made sure it's mapped to the event date. So as we know what two data view tables we've got, what we need to make sure is how we relate these two together. How do we relate the S and the O? We do that, of course, with an inner join. So the inner join being open on the subscriber key. So we're choosing a field from both data view tables that determine a relationship between the two. From here, I'm choosing the subscriber key. If I go back to this slide here, you can see that the subscriber key in the subscriber data view table here can be used to relate it to the open subscriber key here. So this is where this image, this sort of view I've got here becomes very, very useful. So I'm relating the two there. Incidentally as well, let me show you this. Understanding what fields we need to use, I've got an excellent shortcut, which I'm going to take you to here. It's just basically help.salesforce.com. Within help.salesforce.com gives us a whole list of all the data view tables we need. There's a link at the end of this presentation that takes you there. But quite simply, if you go to help.salesforce.com and search data views, it'll take you straight here. It'll be one of the first things you search. Now, I know about if I go back to this scenario here, I know about the event date and the subscriber key existing, not only through that table I showed you before, but if I go to each data view table here, so first let's go to open. There he is there. I know how to reference that data view table because that's how it's written. I also know all the fields that exist in here and what they do. So that event data that I'm using, I can see it here and it exists in the open data view table. So quite simply, if you have that table, that diagram I showed you, and access to those data view tables in the help.salesforce.com, really is a good start in building these data view table SQL queries. Now I'm choosing from as the subscribers because that's the data we're interested in. Rather, what I mean by that is that's the data we want to see in our resulting data extension. Obviously, we're interested in that data, that open data from the open data view table, but more on the criteria. We're using that data here as part of our criteria here, as you can see in the where. Now, in the where, you can use, see I'm using the job ID, which I can reference again in here. And I've referenced the job ID here. Now, this send was part of a journey in Journey Builder. So if I was to send an email through a send flow or a one-off send, if I go to my tracking here in Email Studio, I can see that job ID here. Now with Journey sends, if I just go into one of them here, I don't have that job ID as exposed in the email tracking results. So what I needed to do was reference the job data view table and a quick email on SQL against the email that I'm sending, and I found the job ID there. So again, what I did is I created an SQL against the job data view, and I just created a data extension that contained all the jobs, which included the job ID and also the email name. By including the email name, I can tell what email was associated to what job, and I was able to figure out from there. So it's just a bit of helpful advice there. When you're using the data view tables with Journey Builder sends, there's just that little thing you need to consider of getting that job ID there. So hopefully that helps you. Again, what I've done as well is I've got the is unique, which is basically just a Boolean field within the data view table mainly existing in the opens and the clicks data view table, to make sure that this is a unique open and unique click. That way I'm only getting one result rather than inundated with multiple results. So I only need all I'm looking for is a subscriber that's opened an email. I'm not interested about how many times he's opened the email, just that he's opened the email. And this here helps me do that. And again, by running that, I get these results here. So I can simply run it once here. I'm not going to run it because I run it just before this call here. But as you can see in my Open Free Certification email, I get those records right here. So everyone that's opened that email ever. I haven't got any time basis, it's ever. So that's my first scenario. So let me show you, let's move into the next scenario here. So a requirement for a list of subscribers who has landed on your desk. You need a list of everyone who's clicked on the More Info button underneath the text about the Einstein analytics in the last 3 months. Let me refer what I'm talking about here. Let me just go into that email I'm referring to here. So we've sent an email. It's this one here, the course in April 2020. In this email, I'm referring to the ANC 301, which is obviously a course on Einstein analytics. And beneath that is a button to ask for more information. So what your requirement is everyone that's clicked on this button in the last 3 months. So let's take us back to that same thing like I looked at before with the last scenario, was breaking up what requirements I need. So I need a list of subscribers. So straight away, I know what data view table I need there. Again, I need that subscriber data view table as discussed before. I want everyone who's clicked on the More Information button. So that takes us straight into the next data view table we want to reference, which of course is the click data view table. That click is also going to be part of the criteria because we're not just looking for anyone that's clicked on anything. We're looking for a very particular click, which is that More Info button. And again, I want anyone that's clicked on that More Info button in the last 3 months. So again, I need to use that last 3 months as part of my criteria. So the two data view tables, again, will be subscribers as before because we want a list of subscribers. What we're also interested in is everyone that's clicked. So we're looking at the click data view table. The criteria again will be the last month and anyone that's clicked on the ANC 301 link in the email. So let me demonstrate this to you. Again, I've got this data extension ready and waiting. To click on the ANC 201 link. Again, the data in there is very similar to the last one. I'm just basically extracting the data. If I go back into Automation Studio and go back to my SQL queries, I've got my query here. Click on the ANC link. And here is my query for this one. Slightly more complex, but again, it gives you a building block to understand how we can do these data view tables. So I've selected the two fields. And I've got the subscriber key and the event data, just like it was in that last scenario. And again, this part here is pretty much identical to that last scenario. The only difference is the inner join is obviously because we're referencing the click data view table, we've created that inner join based on the subscriber key again. Again, if I refer back to the charts, that subscriber key is a really good way of creating an association between the two. Not the clicks, sorry, not the unsubscribes, the clicks. So I've chosen the link name. That link name exists in the click data view table. Again, I can go to that data view table piece here, go into my clicks in my data view tables, look at all my fields, and I can see the link name. Now that link name, if you didn't know already, is referencing the tracking alias that exists in that email. So if I go into the properties of that email, or the content of that email, sorry. So go back to the course for April 2020, edit, and edit the content. The reason I'm going into this, the approval, hang on, let me just withdraw that approval, and edit the content. If I go into that more information button here, there's my tracking alias. And now that's what I'm going to use for my link name in my query, right here. Okay, so link name equals ANC 301. And again, I just want a list of everyone who's at least clicked on it once, so I put unique is true. What I've also put in place is a criteria based upon the date. So I'm using the date add function to make sure that I want it from 3 months ago from today. But you can see my criteria is event date is between, this represents 3 months ago, and today. So basically, the result will be within the last 3 months. So that means it's a rolling piece of data. So obviously, if the last time someone clicked on that link was over 3 months ago, they won't appear in my resulting data extension the next time I refresh it. And there it is. Now, if I go again, run it, and that will populate all the data in this data extension like so. Contain all the data there. Everyone has clicked on that button, and when it happened as well. That's what I've got in my results. So I hope those are two basic scenarios of how to build the queries, mainly to create audiences, and that's great. That's a great way of doing that. Now I'm going to show you a way of using the SQL queries with the data view tables for a bit of personalization. So in this case, we are going to use AMP script. Let me show you. So we've got a scenario, like I mentioned before. We have a internal newsletter that we send on a monthly basis. Now, because it's going out to everyone, what we would also like to include is our monthly email engagements, just for everyone to see our high level. Now, of course, if you're a Marketing Cloud user, you can share the tracking information through the reporting, as we know, in Email Studio. And also we have a load of reports that exists as well in the Marketing Cloud. But that's obviously very comprehensive, very good for our marketeers. But we're sharing this with everyone in the company. So we just need a bit of information to share with everyone. So what I'm going to show you is this, a few things. I'm going to first go to Automation Studio, go back into my activities. You may have noticed already, I've got a folder called Monthly Stats in my SQL queries activities. This contains a number, I'm going to zoom out a bit here, a number of SQL queries that I run is actually going to be part of an automation here. These run once a month, contain with everyone's information, with all the clicks and the opens. Now I've got 1, 2, 3, 6 of them. I've got the monthly clicks, the monthly opens, monthly sends, monthly bounces. I've also included the monthly unique opens and the monthly unique clicks. So I'm just going to show you two of them because they're pretty much the same, except it's obviously referencing different data view tables. So if I go to this monthly click here, you can see I am populating the job ID and the link name from the click data extension, from the click data view table. I don't need much information. All I'm interested in at this point is just get a list of all the clicks, and I can use that to do a record count on the numbers of records in that data extension. So I've just put a clause that is done this month within this year. So the month being this month, and it'd be this month within this year. So that's what it's like. And basically all the monthly clicks, the monthly opens, and the monthly bounces, the monthly sends are all the same, except the from references the appropriate data view table. And if I just go back to my queries again, just go back to my monthly stats and just look at the unique clicks. You see, the only thing is it's near enough the same, except I've added another criteria that says is unique equals true. Now, these all populate data extensions. So I go into my data extensions here. I've got a folder called monthly stats, and they all populate on a monthly basis. That means I can reference this data in a bit of AMP script. So if I go to my content, show you this email. So as I get started, I'm going to scroll down to my monthly internal newsletter. Sorry, found in the end. If I show you here, I've got some AMP script that's doing a row count against the data extension for each data extension that contains all that data, which will just populate a numeric value. It's very simple data extension row count. Now, in theory, I could do an AMP script that directly relates directly from the data extension itself, but this was a much simpler way of doing it if you're not that experienced with AMP script. A simple data extension row count will just give you the number of records within that data extension. So that's all I'm referencing here. Now, again, if you're an expert with AMP script, you can probably get a bit more clever with that, but this is enough. Now, if I go ahead and do just do a test, preview and test, so I can just preview what it looks like. And so I've already got a subscriber selected. Well, it's me. I scroll down, and you can see the numeric values are right there. So, like I said, once a month, it just makes it look nice. Obviously, with those numeric values, you can get a bit more clever, couldn't you? Obviously, with a bit of HTML, you can perhaps add those numbers to create some nice charts. But obviously, this just gives a nice list of data, which I'm sure you agree is rather nice. Now, in regards to the demos, that's all I've got. So, a few things I'd like to add. Again, I've got the link here. So, for those that are, obviously, I'm just virtually, so I'm actually doing this a couple of days in advance, but at the same time, if you would like to add me on LinkedIn, this is me taking you forward advance. I'm going to see hopefully on Thursday, a number of people. Add me on LinkedIn. I'm going to show you a picture because this is not the same as my LinkedIn picture. So it's much younger me. I was hoping that after this event, I can update my picture to be a bit more corporate, but there it is there. That's me. So you can add me away, and I can always share this link to you there. At the same time, it's just a case of going to help.salesforce.com, and you will find it there by searching the data views there. So just to wrap things up here, I've got a couple of links to show you. We've got the data view table link. Again, that's a lot to remember, but if you go to help.salesforce.com, you will be able to find that information there. Just search for data views and it'll be right there. Alternatively, if you just find me on LinkedIn, let me just again bring up my my fine self here. Again, I have to show you it because this is not the same as that. I have aged a bit more significantly since then. But there you go. That's me, a younger, before children. That's me. So find me on there and add me there. Also, I've got a link here to my company's blog. Now, the reason I'm doing this is if I show you, I'm just going to go into my website here and go to our blogs. The most recent blog in there. Okay, the second most recent blog in there is the data view table blog, just a blog I wrote, again, just covering what we've covered here. Within that blog, we've also got a picture of that table that I showed you before, so you can have access to that table here. And yeah, that's me. So thank you very much for your time today, guys. Enjoy the rest of this wonderful virtual sessions. And any queries, you got me on LinkedIn, you got me on Twitter, ask away. I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks a lot, guys.